Alright everyone, so in the last couple videos we talked about opening photos into Photopea and being able to do simple things like resize and cropping documents in Photopea. In this video, we're going to talk about how to make your own document from scratch. So you could just, download a photo and open it in Photopea, but sometimes you're going to want to create your own document. The reason why you might want to do this is so that you can control things like the dimensions of the, properties like the dimensions of your image. There's some other properties that we're about to talk about that you're going to possibly want to control. Okay, so if I wanted to make my own document in Photopea, it's pretty simple. What I'm going to do is go to the File menu here, and I'm going to go to New, or I can use Option or Alt, Control, or Command N, and that's going to give me this dialog box here. Okay. With this dialog box, even though this dialog box looks like this, we actually kind of just really want this part. Okay. This is what lets us set up our own document. So the first option here is name. This is what your document will be called by default. If you don't give it any name, it defaultly just is referred to as new project. I'm going to call this Mr. Hurwicz's, image. Okay. Next is your dimensions. So you can set your dimensions here. You can measure in pixels, millimeters, inches. Chances are most of the time you're going to want to measure in pixels. So I'm going to actually set this up to be about 800 pixels by 200 pixels in terms of its dimensions. The next is something called DPI. DPI stands for dots per inch. If you've worked with other raster programs, you may have heard of this referred to as resolution or pixels per inch. Okay, and what this is that when you set up a document, there's something called pixel density. Okay, which is how many pixels there are in a given document or a given image. Okay, so we've talked about pixels and how they relate to a raster image. What this means here is, if you were to take a ruler and put it up to your, let's say your computer screen. I'm looking for a ruler right now. I don't think I have one, but unfortunately, I don't think I got one right now. But let's say I put up a ruler to my computer screen that you're looking at right now. I could sit and I could try to measure how many pixels there are in 1 inch. Okay, so resolution is basically defined for any, at least resolution in terms of digital images is defined as how many pixels in a given unit of measurement. Okay. In America, since we typically measure things using inches and feet as opposed to the metric system, it usually is how many pixels per inch. Okay. That is our resolution. Now, normally when you take a photograph with like your phone or a digital camera, when the photograph is taken, that is when the resolution or the DPI is set. If you actually went into your settings or your options of your camera, you'd be able to set the resolution that you want to be recorded. There is no quote-unquote wrong resolution, but there is something called a minimum resolution. Okay, what minimum resolution means is that we need a minimum number of, the minimum number of pixels per inch to maintain a clear image or a nice image. Okay, so there is no quote-unquote wrong resolution when you're recording or converting an image to a resolution, but if you were, for instance, If it goes below a certain amount, then the image may appear it may appear blurry, or it may appear to be a little stair-steppy, little pixelated, that sort of thing. What resolution you need, or the minimum resolution you need, really depends on, are you printing the image? In this case, because we're literally working with the internet, which is never printed, it's always on a screen, we don't actually have to worry about it being printed. So we just need the minimum resolution for a digital device. Okay. As of recording, most digital devices have a minimum resolution of about 72 pixels per inch. Okay, that is the resolution, or the DPI. Okay, you can add more to it if you'd like. It's not going to make the image, it's not going to hurt the image, but it's not going to improve the quality of the image either. In the same way, there's a minimum resolution. Most monitors, and when I say monitor, I mean like a computer monitor or the screen of your cell phone or a tablet or whatever, they can only go up to a certain resolution. You can't go beyond it. And most actually don't have a resolution above about 110. So you can set it, this is the minimum. You can set it higher if you like. It's not quote unquote wrong, but you're not going to notice any quality differences when you do that. Okay, so I'm going to keep it at 72 pixels per inch. That's usually the default here in Photopea, which is what we'd like. And then you can set a background. It'll default to white. You can set it to black, transparent, or if you'd really like, you can set it to any one of these colors here. So once I'm done, I'm going to hit create. This is my document. You can see I have these rulers here. It's measured out to be 800. Just like with everything else, I can kind of zoom in and out. If you want to see your size of your image, you can go to image size, like we just talked about. And you can see these are my dimensions. This is my, and it actually will give you your resolution or DPI, how many pixels there are per inch. And so right now, this is what I want. So this, I want you guys to try that out. Make your own document. And then in the next example, I will show you guys how we can copy and paste images into one another and work with what are called the layers to combine content together.